we're going to start out with the town of Merrillville. Thank you for hosting us today. Appreciate that. You guys are on the deck.
Well, first I want to welcome you all to the Merrillville Stormwater Resource Center. You're welcome to use anytime, that you have to reserve or anything, so we'll open our doors to you anytime you see the need to come here. And I'm Matt Lake, I'm the executive director here. With me today is Luke Sherry from Christopher Burke Engineering, who's going to be presenting on our Hickory Ridge flood control improvements. And I want to thank the board for the support for the engineering aspect and supporting that. The challenging projects to go through from that perspective. And we'll go through all the aspects and how we're basically shovel ready at this point. Seeing as how we've secured all of our easements and permits and that. Would you guys prefer the lights on or off, or what's your preference to view the screen?
Can leave some of them on and turn some of them off, or what's
This one? Oh, is that okay? All of them.
I guess we're going to turn them off.
It's all or nothing. So with that, I'll let Luke take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. I'm Luke Sherry with Christopher Burke Engineering. We've been assisting Matt and the town of Merrillville with this project for several years now. And we're here tonight because we're requesting funding for the construction of that project. We put together this presentation, kind of give you a little bit of project background and sort of step you through how we got to where we are today. This is a regional drainage problem. This heat map of the elevations of the Meadowdale lateral watershed kind of show obviously the elevation changes where the dark red is the lowest elevations and the blue are the highest. Our property is located just along the west side of Meadowdale lateral, which flows generally from north to south before it hits Turkey Creek and then makes its way eastward. The drainage area at our project site is roughly 7 square miles. Most of that, a little bit over 4 square miles, is actually outside of the town of Merrillville limits. One of the issues with this project is the drainage from the apartment complex cannot get into Meadow lateral because of just when the creek is high, we have this tailwater condition where literally flow wants to go the opposite way that you want it to go. Sort of to complicate matters, and this is tough to see up here, outlined in red is the upstream drainage area that wants to come through the apartment complex and make its way to Meadowdale lateral. And it's roughly 200 acres. It's slightly more than that. And the problem is it's getting stuck in the apartment complex. So you literally have this unique situation where you have the apartment complex actually getting bombarded from both sides. You have backup from Meadowdale lateral on the east, and then you have the upstream drainage, which is feeding even more water into the system that's already overwhelmed. During the September 2008 event, the level of the pond in front of the complex was so high that all of the first floor level apartments took on water and all had significant structural damage. We documented some storm events following that. This one was from February 2018. You can see how high the water in the pond is. It had some significant parking lot flooding associated with that storm event. And as luck would have it, we had a drone pilot on our staff who went out there and shot some drone footage. We have some very good videos of the flooding. They were sort of too large to work with this presentation, but here are some still shots that kind of show you a bird's eye view of just how high the water gets up during, some of these more significant storms. So again, this is the pond surrounding the apartments. And then we have this other shot of the intersection of 56th Avenue and Grant Street. So as you can see, there's just a significant amount of roadway inundation, and I think there's a total of 4 roadways that get basically become impassable during these events. So sort of recap of the work that's been done since then. The town developed a stormwater master plan in 2014, and the Hickory Ridge apartments was identified as basically the highest priority area in that study. We've assisted the town with developing an H&H analysis of the problem, to develop, what kind of drainage improvements will alleviate the situation. We've done the topographic survey, the wetland delineation, put together a plan set, which you can sort of see as the snippet to the right. Obtained easements and coordinated with, the appropriate agencies, which in this case were the Lake County Surveyor's Office, the Army Corps, and also IDNR. So the proposed drainage improvements that were identified and designed consist of a few different things. There is 8.4 acre feet of flood storage that will be created in dry bottom basins just east of the apartments. In addition to that, there'll be some storm sewer improvements that include backflow preventers and also a pump station, so that the water from the apartment complex and the upstream areas can actually get to Meadowdale Lateral if the creek were at a higher stage. And then finally, what's shown in red around the building around the east side there and sort of wraps around the north, that's a flood control berm to provide some additional flood protection of the building. So in terms of benefits provided, obviously we're creating storage in the watershed. So we have over 8 acre feet of flood storage, which is certainly a benefit for the watershed. We have some roadway flood reduction. And again, there's 4 different streets that are affected in this location. And obviously the residential flood reduction is another big win for this project. You have the structural damage for the first floor apartments. You have significant parking lot damages. You have transportation damages from the surrounding roadways. So many residents would be benefited from this project. One thing we wanted to point out is that this is consistent with the Little Calumet River Comprehensive Watershed Plan that was first developed in 2013 and then updated in 2021. That red block that we've highlighted on the exhibit to the right is actually the sentence, a snippet from the plan that says how the Hickory Ridge Apartments flood control project is a project that is a priority and needs to be completed. So with that, the request is a 50-50 split. We've developed a engineer's construction estimate for this project of $1 million, $864,335, and that 50-50 split would translate to $932,168. Obviously for for the town and then also for the commission. So with that, that's all I had. Certainly, if there are any questions, we'd be happy to answer those.
The $932,168, that at this point, that's strictly the engineers putting the numbers together, right? And nothing's been bid.
Correct. Yeah, we don't have hard numbers from bid. It's, how things go now with the
Right.
costs.
And the drawings are what, 100%?
Yes.
So you guys are ready theoretically to go out.
Yeah, permits are done. All easements are reported. Plans are done. Yeah, we're ready to go in that respect. Another thing I want to mention is we've been mapping out the financially disadvantaged areas within town. And we just looked at the recent census data, and the median household income there about $43,000. So we're trying to do more projects in areas where there are hardships. So about people and what happens. So
Questions, Chair.
Go ahead, Ron.
Of your half, or the other half of the funding, is Town of Merrillville the only funding source, or is there any other sources of funding?
we did put in for a 219 grants, but we're just trying to help our budget out with that. But it's not 100% necessary for us to do that. We have construction funds set aside specifically for projects in this particular one.
One more question. The residences in there outside of the apartments, you had to guess how many residences were impacted by these high water and different events, 2018, and maybe others that you guys have identified?
You've got about, like in the general vicinity, I would say directly impacted is about 3 more city town blocks. Because the intersection, then police and fire, they have to route around. That intersection you saw that was flooded out, that's 56 and Grant. Just to the east of there is Turkey Creek lateral 6. And then when that backs up, everything else backs up 40. So that's kind of a challenge. Meet the needs of that area, especially when you're trying to get emergency services. I've been there, my waste and water, trying to find a storm drain, making sure things aren't clogged, because when the ditch goes down, everything else goes down with it. So the emergency and all that stuff, we could store that water back, along with the burning of it down, so the other flood protection measures, and the pump station, which is it's currently there now, but it's non-functional. It's just been kind of antiquated. And that's all part of the plans.
So what's the earthen berm for?
Let me flip back to the
That's in the red.
yeah,
correct?
the red is the earthen berm, sort of around the east side of the apartment complex and kind of wraps around to the north there. Kind of tough to see on this exhibit. It was easier to see when it's dark in here. The dry bottom detention basins are just on the east side of that flood control berm. So that flood control berm will allow more storage to be located on the east side of those apartment complexes without affecting, those first floor residents.
So that's most of my question. It doesn't impact the neighborhood at all. And the blue arrows represent a swale to be cut in, or the natural drainage flow now?
That's the flow path of the water coming from the west side of Cleveland Street, draining eastward.
And that's in a natural ditch?
Right now, it's kind of a swale. There's an ag field on the other side.
Right?
So it's a couple hundred acres of drainage rolling through there. It's kind of funneled through. It's just like pinch point of all that drainage.
And the lift station pumps the water to where?
Lateral 6, Turkey Creek lateral 6, which is to the.
And what's the difference in height as far as outlet into the creek versus the discharge from the 2 foot, 4 foot you're pumping out? What's the drop between the detention that exists now and the
It's
lateral
relatively
6?
flat. Probably got about 2.5 feet somewhere.
Thank you.
How much of the request is for acquiring properties?
We don't need to. We actually coordinated with the Hickory Ridge Lake Association. They signed an easement. We signed it. We got it recorded. So there was no land acquisition. We have a permanent easement for all of this. I think that makes sense.
Okay, and just clarification, going back to what Ron asked, so the 50%, if you don't get the 219,
Mhm.
the 50% you guys still have in me.
Yeah. We're trying to say we've got other projects in the works, as you can imagine. So we're trying to do as much as we can. So, yeah, it doesn't hinge on that. It just would help us, get to other projects.
And then what's you guys' target deadline or start projected?
Well, it depends on the 219. So if we put it out for bid this fall, we get started this fall.
And then what's the duration estimate?
It depends on the contractor. We would want to get it done in late spring. Like fully, because then you got your seating and all that. You want to make sure that you got all it. Grass and stuff.
Anybody else? Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.